Welcome to Co-Pilots, the podcast where we review not just the first episode of a show,
but also sometimes we don't even do that. Sometimes we just talk about stuff.
And we hang out here in the cockpit and invite you in to enjoy our conversations and drink alcohol with us before we take off on our next flight.
Yeah, everyone knows you have to drink alcohol before you can fly. It's literally in the guidelines set forth by the FAA.
Did you know California now, you have to smoke weed before you can take off too? You have to be cross-faded.
Yeah, you gotta be crossed. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, California and Washington, you gotta be crossed before you can take off.
Dude, Denmark's been doing that for ages now, though.
I think Denver's the same way. Not all of Colorado, just Denver.
Yeah.
But no, we're still here in the Midwest where
we only get drunk before we fly.
Because weed's still illegal.
Yep.
But here we are, drinking our drinks and talking our talks. You said you don't have anything right away. You want me to lead?
I thought of one thing, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I know the passengers who have been following along with us know that I have a couple goals that I'm working on this year.
Yeah.
One Piece is one of them. I am through Skypia now.
That was the same last time you mentioned it, yeah.
I didn't mention it on the podcast last time.
Oh.
I am through Skypia, but I did tell you I was through Skypia. So you can applaud. I got through the worst arc. I still don't like it. Sorry, friends who said it was good. But I don't want to go deep into One Piece because
there's a lot there, and also there's a lot of reactions to be had from people.
What I do want to go deep into is Doctor Who, another show that I'm trying to catch up on this year.
And you've actually been making really good progress on.
I'm a season and a half down, and that last season's only 6 episodes. I have 12 episodes, and I'm caught up on Doctor Who.
Very nice, very nice. How's it been?
So, this is what I wanted to talk about, because I finished the Capaldi run, and Capaldi is now my favorite Doctor.
Understandable, Capaldi's fucking great.
He was pretty much my favorite Doctor already. But his run with Bill and his run with Clara are two of the best companion runs.
Yeah.
And Bill only gets a season. The fact that Bill does...
Yeah, the fact that Bill gets a little is kind of sad. Kind of a discredit to Bill.
That said, I'm glad Bill didn't make it to Jodie. Not because... actually, people talk about how the Jodie Whittaker seasons are bad. And, I initially went in with the skepticism of, the internet sucks.
Yeah.
People talk shit about Captain Marvel because it was a woman superhero movie. So I assume people are talking shit about Jodie Whittaker's Doctor because...
It's a female Doctor. Captain Marvel has problems.
Captain Marvel as a movie is fine.
Yeah.
And, I don't have any issues with Brie Larson, so,
Yeah, I was saying the movie has issues, every fucking movie does, but, none of them are because the main character is a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how the Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who seasons have problems, but none of them is because Jodie Whittaker is a woman.
No, I do think some of the problems do, hinge on Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah, that or the writing.
But, honestly, the problems I encountered with the Jodie Whittaker seasons, I finished the first season of Jodie Whittaker, halfway through the second season of Jodie Whittaker. The problems I've encountered in Jodie Whittaker's Doctors stem mostly from writing.
Yeah.
Specifically, those first 4 episodes of the Jodie Whittaker run
are just not great writing.
They, in a lot of ways, feel like classic Doctor Who.
Yeah, we're going back to history and dealing with historical problems, that way you can learn things.
It feels more like an educational show than an entertainment show. And instead of having
But it feels like it's going heavy on the educational bit. Hey, here's this presenter we have to tell you about education. And we're going to frame it by making it this fun adventure in the past. But the host won't have a lot of energy or great lines.
I will say, I now know exactly when Rosa Parks refused to stand up on a bus.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor Who. It was December 1st, 1956.
Yeah, I already knew this.
See, I knew it was in the winter of 1955, 1956 in that ballpark. But the exact year escaped me and the exact day escaped me. But
I actually knew the year and day. I didn't know the fucking bus driver's name or any of that shit.
But Doctor Who was hey, we're going to say what year it is 6 times in this episode.
The biggest thing that episode did for me was make me go, is the story of Rosa Parks that big in the UK?
Me too.
Because everyone involved was oh, Rosa Parks did so much great stuff for us, and I was just
and they're all Brits.
But you're all British. I get civil rights was still an issue for you guys as well, and then 100% not nearly as bad from my understanding. And I don't understand how the bus boycott affected you guys.
The really crazy thing is, in 13 seasons of New Who, so Christopher Eccleston onwards, we have never really touched on racism as a historical aspect.
We've occasionally mentioned and been oh, we're not going to worry about that. It's been hey, isn't that a thing? Yeah, but not for us for this episode.
There was a little bit of it with Mickey, but it was mainly oh yeah, that was, but you'll be okay. Yeah. And then with Bill and 18th, 19th century London, and Bill being won't they treat me badly because I am black? And Capaldi being in the poor side of London?
Nah.
In the 1840s?
If we went somewhere else, yeah, and they go somewhere else briefly, and yeah, there's problems. But in the poor part of London, nah, congratulations, everyone's fucked here.
The Rosa Parks episode felt so contrived. the quote-unquote villain of that episode, and it is a villain, is a man from, like, the 84th
He's a neo-Nazi white supremacist from the 42nd century.
From the 84th century.
84th, sorry.
He's from so far in the future that the storm cage exists.
So, no, just neo-Nazi white supremacist from...
But no, it's not just that he's
so
a
far in the
neo-Nazi
future.
white supremacist. He's a neo-Nazi white supremacist who traces all of his life's problems, his life particularly, because like he doesn't ever like expout like actual neo-Nazi stuff.
Yeah.
He just talks about how like black people are the reason why he killed 2,000 people and like why his life is bad.
Yeah, he also says that's why everything ended up the way it did. And like the way he's saying it also makes it sound like he has problems with society being the way it is, and he's blaming black people for it.
But like he's not blaming like he's traced his problems back 7,000 years and has decided this one moment is when all the problems in his life started.
Yeah. I mean, he makes a line that's a little less clear about it being just his problems, because he says when you got above your place.
Yeah, but
when
like
he's talking to one of the doctors.
His primary motivation in this episode is to fix his life.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think like the one I didn't like the episode. I don't think the episode was well written, but I do appreciate actually that it does hit on the fact that a lot of American education doesn't, which is one of the doctor's companions is not black, but they are. I believe she's Indian.
She is Pakistani.
She's Pakistani, okay,
but she is British born.
Yeah, but she's ethnically Pakistani. And people don't like her either. They call her a Mexican because they're just like, oh, your skin's brown. I'm going to choose the current race I don't like with brown skin. But they are also aggressive to her as well, which is not something that American education really hits on when we're talking about the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
It's always just like, hey, here was the African American civil rights movement. But so many things during that also affected other minorities, just like how the fucking handicap accessibility issues and the rights that people fought for there also helped a fuck ton of other things as well.
Yeah.
Like that helped reform a lot of education things as well. And like so many of these movements, especially in American history that we talk about, we boil it down to one single group and we don't focus on how it actually affected so much more because of course we don't.
The key thing here that gets me is this man is like focused on a thing 7,000 years ago as like the reason why his life is fucked up. And that'd be like me being like...
Dude, it's like the internet meme where someone blames the fish that first walked out of the fucking water.
It'd be
supposedly you're not wrong. Like in his brain work and what he's done here in his brain maths, he doesn't think he's wrong.
Like
it's just so far removed from the actual problem.
It's functionally like me blaming Alexander the Great for society's woes today.
I mean, yeah,
like it is,
dude. If he hadn't have died,
it's functionally the same thing. It's so far back that, like, the connection is tenuous at best.
Yeah, you're just hoping on a butterfly effect if you fuck it up. That's all you're hoping on there. Which Doctor Who has gone through multiple times to be like, hey, the butterfly effect doesn't fucking do anything. But also then sometimes it's like, nope, this one thing does change it.
For some reason, that's a thing. Like, so there was a shift in writers and a shift in directors going into Jodie Whittaker's seasons as well. Yeah. Which is why I'm now staunchly against the idea that it's Jodie Whittaker's fault.
Yeah, because after the fourth episode, she gets a lot better as a character of the Doctor. And a lot of it does change with her lines because she gets more Doctor-esque with the writing.
Yeah. Like, not only does she get more Doctor-esque in her writing, she gets more Doctor-esque in her acting because in those first 4 episodes, and it's still a little bit in season 1, she doesn't like have confidence in like when she says stuff so it is a characteristic of all the Doctors from Eccleston through
to be
Capaldi.
Kind of unsure in their newer generation.
Well, no, from Eccleston to Capaldi, they all have this characteristic where even if they don't have a plan, they will brazenly and boldly and confidently
do whatever they're doing.
Rush in San's plan, and like they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I don't really have a plan, but we're doing this.
I'm the Doctor. It'll work out."
Jodie Whittaker is like still rush in, but it'll be more like, "Oh, I don't have a plan. We're probably all gonna die." Yeah. And like she doesn't have the bravado about it. She sounds like she actually believes that there's a good chance that they're all going to die.
Yeah, which I don't think is any part really on Jodie Whittaker's acting there. I feel like it's with unfirm writing, it's hard to figure out how you're supposed to characterize the person because like literally like the moment we hit the 5th episode, she is actually a doctor.
Yeah, the 5th episode.
It's very clear and it's like the writing's still kind of loose on the 5th episode, but it's better than the first 4. But like the moment you kind of give her something to work with, she is embodying embodying a version of the Doctor that works well.
She steps into her own self as the Doctor. The 5th episode is Demons in the Punjab, which is centered around the partition of India into Pakistan and India.
Yeah, which is a huge fucking thing. And if you don't know it, like, it's like a topic we should honestly talk about more, especially in U.S. world history, because it is very important, especially like even current tensions that we have in the world. And we don't talk about it because, of course, we don't, because we really only talk about the Western world and Europe-centric bullshit.
If we talk about the Middle East, which Pakistan is considered Middle Eastern,
yeah,
we talk about them as like
the bad guys and the things that have happened to us, which is so fucking wrong.
This episode, it's the Doctor stepping into who she is. It's still got like the history lesson vibe,
but it's done better.
But it's not like beating me over the head. I can't tell you what year the partition of India was.
No,
because that's not what this is about. This is about
This is a character story set in that time and during that big problem.
Whereas the Rosa Parks episode really felt like an educational video about Rosa Parks.
Yeah,
and James Blake, the bus driver.
Yeah.
I'm not even looking at Wikipedia for that.
I couldn't remember his name, but you did.
Yeah.
I zoned out during a lot of that episode.
Because it was not good.
No. But like we've hit other historical moments, even in the newer Doctor Who run, that are actually educational. But we do that by doing a character-driven story that happens to be taking place around that time or around a certain topic.
Because
that's how you tell a good story there.
Especially in fiction-based TV, in science fiction, science fantasy.
Humanizing the issue, which is what you're doing when you're doing a character-driven story, does so much more to not only teach you about something from a historical standpoint, but also teach you something on a fucking emotional, ethical, and value-based level as well, by showing you that, hey, this shit happened, and this is how it fucked up normal people.
So, I'm now into season 2 of Jodie Whittaker's run.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm really excited about all the stories going on in Jodie Whittaker's run. The writing has improved. The cohesiveness of the episodes has went from being strictly episodic, like the first half of season 12 was. Season 13, season 12 was Capaldi. And it's really from a viewer perspective, the most excited I've been about watching more Who since the Capaldi run started snowballing to the end of Clara.
Understandable.
Which I mean, I guess was just 2 seasons ago, but
yeah, but then we got a bunch of Me, and it kind of got
well, the end of Clara is also the end of Me, so
yeah. But the Me heavy episodes were kind of a drag.
Well, also the first half of Bill as a companion, I was like, I just want Clara back. Bill was a great companion. It's just really sad that she came after
Clara,
a companion as strong as Clara,
with as good of a story as Clara's was. Yeah.
I'm hoping to finish Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who, in time for the return of Tennant in his 3 episodes this summer.
Understandable.
Which is 3 specials.
Yeah.
Which features Donna as his companion.
Yeah, Donna was a great companion after she got her legs under her as a companion.
Which means Donna's going to get her memory back because
Yep.
I'm super excited for that.
Or it's an alternate version of Donna, like we've had alternate versions of Rose.
And then after the 3 episodes of the 14th Doctor being Tennant, we will reincarnate into the 15th Doctor. Who is also in those 3 episodes at some point.
Yeah.
Because he meets his future self, which is going to be it's a taboo of Doctor Who that they've never done before. And
I mean, they have.
No, so they've had present Doctors meet past Doctors, but they've never had present Doctors meet future Doctors. That's never happened. It is a taboo that Doctor Who has never done.
True. You're right. Yeah. I was just thinking about the movie, and I was like, well, yeah, no, you're not wrong. It was the present Doctor meeting 2 past Doctors, yeah.
Also, I've started the Fugitive Doctor arc, which implies there's Doctors from before the first Doctor.
Yeah.
And I'm in the Timeless Child arc, and we have the new incarnation of the Master, who's now called O.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Fuck, I love him. Jaunty time space pirate dude.
Captain Jack Harkness.
Jack Harkness has made his return.
The face of Bo. He's back.
All of these things are adding up to make...
Spoilers, I guess, if you haven't watched the first 5 seasons of Doctor Who.
All these things are adding up in such a way to make the second season of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor Who run one of my favorite singular seasons of Doctor Who.
Understandable.
I'm so excited to finish this season and get into it. I'm almost sad that she only got 26 episodes.
Yeah.
This is the second shortest run since Eccleston.
It does suck.
And I wish Eccleston would come back, but he won't.
Yeah, Eccleston has some problems with the writing staffs and producers and directors.
Eccleston, has been very political about it. He's like, no, I did my time at, I brought Doctor Who back.
Yeah.
And
hey,
I
also you're wrong. He's come back as the Doctor.
Oh yeah, okay.
Audio drama.
Yeah.
I think the 4-part audio drama he was in, something like that. I don't remember how many parts it was.
Sorry about gushing about Doctor Who for, I guess, probably 20 minutes.
It's about, yeah.
But yeah, I've been really excited about that and really enjoying Doctor Who. Other than Doctor Who, I restarted Yu Yu Hakusho again.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised to here where I stopped binging it again. It's episode 14 again, and now I know why. Because I restarted Yu Yu Hakusho about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Binged it for a day, got to episode 14, stopped. This time I restarted Yu Yu Hakusho, binged it over 2 nights, got to episode 14, and I stopped. You know why?
Why?
Episode 14 is when the second Saint Beast fight is.
Yeah, the Saint Beasts are not a fun time in my opinion.
It's when Kuwabara has his fight with the tiger dude. I'm like, oh,
yeah, it's bad. It's boring. I don't like the Saint Beasts.
I might just skip like through the next Saint Beast fight up until like the climax of the Saint Beast arc.
I don't like the Saint Beast arc. It's not great. Like, sure, it builds some character, but it is a bad story arc.
It is.
I think we get the necessary character building from other things.
It is important in cementing the team. Like, it's the first time Hiei, Kurama, Yusuke, and Kuwabara work together. Like, so in that way, it's important for like building that team.
Give them a better mission with a better story, and that'd be much, much more entertaining.
So it is important in building the team aspect there. I don't know if it's important enough for me to sit through because I've already seen it before.
No, it's not.
I can probably skip it.
Kuwabara doesn't become good until after it anyways.
Cool. Like, the weird thing is Kuwabara was excellent in the Genkai tournament. He was such a good
and then
character.
He just goes back to being a fucking asshole that no one cares about and being a just joke character in the fucking
Saint Beasts.
It's
It's really sad. But yeah, that's those
just
are the
skip
things
it and
I've
we
been
slowly actually get to build him back up into a fun character.
Those are the things I've been doing. I would talk about Tears of the Kingdom, but I haven't played it since we last recorded one of these.
I haven't really played it much recently either.
And I only played Cyberpunk twice since we last had an interstitial.
Yeah, but that actually goes directly to my topic. We both binge watched Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
It's not much of a binge watch. It's 10 episodes.
It's 10 episodes, but we did binge watch it.
It is absolutely fantastic. Holy shit.
It's a great anime, even outside of being related to the Cyberpunk brand and world. Trigger, as always, did fucking amazing on the animation. And honestly, Trigger lends themselves to the neo Cyberpunk aesthetic so well because they always love to use bright colors and these crisp animations which work super fucking well when we're talking about futuristic settings where, hey, we have a lot of neon lights, we have these bright colors because so much of the world is artificial that we can do these bright, poppy, artificial colors and still make it work with the environment we've built here because it's just a thing we can do.
Yeah. Every time I think of Trigger, I know they've done like super iconic work.
Yeah.
My brain always goes to Promare. I've not seen that movie.
No, it goes to Promare because Promare's colors are like peak Trigger colors.
God of High School, if I was going to continue watching that anime, it'd be strictly because of how good Trigger did the visuals. But yeah, no, Cyberpunk was amazing. What keyed me the most out of that show, the soundtrack is so good.
Oh, the soundtrack's fucking amazing. But like, honestly, like, I can think of Triggers. I think of Triggers so much for their color. Like the one outlier in my head that always exists, and even then it uses color really, really well. It just doesn't use those bright colors because it's much more of a pastel, like subdued shading.
Yeah,
is Little Witch Academia. But even then, we have these bright pops of color when they're doing their magic and stuff that still screams Trigger, and their animation style screams Trigger. But it's like the most muted I've seen their palette, and it's still such beautiful palette work.
Yeah, Kill la Kill is also kind of dark for them.
I mean, it uses some dark colors, but it uses very bright pops of color. The blues and reds that they use.
So when we were watching Cyberpunk Edgerunners, like a song would come up and I'd be like, Google, what's that song? And then I would just quietly go and like that song on Spotify.
Nice.
And by the time we got through the anime, I just went and found the Cyberpunk soundtrack and hearted the album. I was like, fuck it, this thing's a banger. He's like, a song would start, I'd be like, oh, this is a bop.
Yeah.
Hey, Google.
Also, like, a thing I don't normally find myself liking in shows a lot are fairly large time skips. And this show has one about halfway through, but it doesn't really...
It's necessary.
And it doesn't really clarify how large the time skip is, but it seems to be fairly substantial.
Like, between 6 months and a year.
Yeah, maybe 2 years at most, I would say. But the way it's done works really, really well, which is great. Because, like I said, I don't normally like them. Normally, I find them to be kind of bad.
Also, I will say this. David was much more attractive as a character before he was like...
Before he went full Borg. Yeah, before he full Borged it.
Like, he's just...
Honestly, if he hadn't gone for so much of the Borg, like, chest enhancement, and especially if he had left off the fucking neck muscles, he still could have been fairly attractive. But the moment he was just like, and full Borg, I was like, you got less attractive, my man. Like, that's sad.
I had seen, like... things online about like I want to glow up like David, and I'm like,
what are you talking about? That was not a glow up.
Yeah, that's what I'm at the point where I'm like I don't know what anybody was talking about. David did not have a glow up. David became an addict.
Yeah, like, I don't think he became unattractive. I think he just wasn't as attractive when he went through his quote-unquote glow-up.
He became an addict. That's what happened.
Yeah, no, like, which works.
In the Cyberpunk lore,
yeah,
mods are addictive, yeah. Which is why people end up... like
go on cyberpsychosis.
Yeah, because it's addictive to keep...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know you said it worked really well with what you've known from the video game.
Mm-hmm.
It included a bunch of things without even like really telling us. Which is like, hey, here's the thing that exists. We don't need a fucking 5-minute exposition of this one fucking item.
Well, it's like one of my favorite parts about the Cyberpunk anime was its usage of like terminology from the Cyberpunk game, video game, and the RPG,
and just including it naturally.
Yeah, like the show never clarifies the difference between an XBD and a BD. Yeah, and, like, it doesn't tell you what a BD is. Although they do use the term brain dance at some point, but like it never actually clarifies what a brain dance is.
It never clarifies that a BD is a brain dance, which a lot of other shows would be like, yeah, a BD, a brain dance.
Well, no, even more than that, it never tells you what a brain dance is.
Yeah,
but
it never comes out and directly tells us. It does tell us through showing and using the art and like some subtle phrasing here and there to like push you in the direction that, hey, yeah, a brain dance is someone's memories that have been downloaded and you can rewatch, and a brain dance can be shortened to a BD. Well, and then an XBD is a graphic BD of some sort, whether it be sexual or gore.
So the thing is, a brain dance isn't actually a memory that you can just rewatch. Yeah. Specifically, a brain dance,
you experience it.
You live it from the perspective of the person that, and an XBD isn't just necessarily based on like gore or like sexual, like it's
X-rated content.
It's not just X-rated content. Yeah. XBDs also include BDs that have like neural limiters removed, so you can feel everything that's actually going on. Yeah. Because normally a BD,
they don't always, but they do sometimes.
Normally a BD that is, like not always, but like an XBD includes those. Yep. Because normally a BD would have like limiters placed on it if it's produced by an official capacity. Yeah. Like specifically limiters on like pain or like negative emotions or like stuff like that. Just because like the idea is that it's
all the good things you want to experience in there. Yeah.
But XBDs and aftermarket BDs don't necessarily have those because they're black market. Yeah. So, but the fact that the anime never actually like tells us about this stuff, key. I really enjoyed that.
And it does it several times. Even with like mods, people will get it'll like mention its name and they never really explain it, but we might see someone using it, or it might just mention the name. The name is just kind of enough for you to kind of piece together what it's for. Or if it doesn't, you don't need to know, but it just adds to the world building. Whereas so many other things, like if they introduce something even with just like a term, they would feel the need to explain it, especially with a lot of modern live action things, in my opinion. I couldn't think of any specific one off the top of my head. Definitely not picturing one right now.
Look,
would just be like, oh,
he's talking about The Witcher, guys.
Here's this 3-minute explanation of this thing. We're not going to talk about it ever again, but we needed to make sure you understood this one very specific thing that's not going to come back up.
And if we're specifically The Witcher, we'll do it 2 more times just because.
Yeah. And then I also liked the inclusion of some of the gangs that exist in Night City. I know you were talking about them, and so they're reflected in the game, obviously, but they're also from, like, this group of gangs you could find roaming in Night City in the original Cyberpunk role-playing game.
I will say both the video game and the TV show really cuts down on some of the comedy, gangs, because my favorite gang of all time in all of Cyberpunk, I don't remember the name of the gang, which I'm kicking myself for, but they're essentially again, Cyberpunk takes place in an alternate future, in the original role-playing game in the 2020s, in the video game in Edge Runners in 2077. Yeah. That said, in the 2020 version of the RPG, there's a gang who are literally just greasers, who are all specifically emulating the Fonz.
There is one gang that I don't think exists in the book, but I know it is a creation of Mike Pondsmith because I listened to him run a game once, and I love it. I don't think he was when he was running. He was talking about a game he ran for his family or for family and friends, but I loved it. The gang was based on just Gilligan's Island. Yeah, everyone was Gilligan's Island theme, and so many people just wanted to be the skipper. So you would just have a bunch of people as the skipper walking around, but a lot of they were mostly cyber junkies for the most part. But when they would go out for whatever the fuck they were doing, he was it wouldn't be uncommon to just hear off in the distance 3-hour tour, and they'd just be chanting, they'd sing through the song and then just start chanting, and they would raid or do whatever we're doing for a period of 3 hours and then just disappear.
Well, another one of the gangs from the role-playing game that springs to mind that isn't featured in Edge Runners or the video game is they're called the Dead Presidents or the Presidents. Yeah. And it's people people who are like getting physical plastic surgery to look like presidents.
Yeah.
Specifically like famous ones like Jimmy Carter and Nixon. Like I know
Clinton,
all
Carter,
presidents
Nixon,
are
Reagan.
famous, but like
generally the ones that had scandals around them.
And you got people running around like shooting up banks and stuff going, I'm not a crook.
Yeah. Because in the more traditional Cyberpunk game, it's like, no, here's this like gritty, dark world, but also here's some dumb shit. Because you give people the ability to do whatever, they're gonna do some dumb fucking shit.
But like in the anime specifically, you're talking about like how I was mentioning the correlation between Edge Runners and 2077. There's a game called the Maelstrom.
Yep.
Which Maelstrom is like they're technically a gang, but they're almost like alt-right paramilitary.
Yeah, they are really kind of an alt-right paramilitary terrorist group.
But I love it because Maelstrom has this habit of just dicking themselves over so hard by trying to be the biggest, like, hardest person in the room every time. And so they'll, like, make a deal with you only to, like, after they get your part of the deal, go back and be like, yeah, you better leave or we'll shoot you up. And then, like, they don't have the balls to back up the talk 90% of the time. Yeah. Like, Maelstrom gets their ass kicked so much because they just can't, like...
Yeah, and they have that classic thing of because it's, you know, oh, I'm the toughest guy in the room. They have that own strife and issues in their own group. So it'll be like, you know, you made a deal with the last guy who was in charge, but we've gone through like 2 since then because they got in an argument and one of them pulled a gun and shot the other one because that guy said something that guy didn't like, and there's no respect for anyone in this organization. It's just whoever has the biggest balls or the biggest gun whenever we meet up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's really funny how... And, like, the anime captures that perfectly.
Yeah,
like,
they really does.
I just... It's really good crossovers between them.
Yeah, it also plays the fucking clown gang that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head, just as the perfect chumps that they are. Like, these are just guys you're going to run into. They wander about. They cause some problems. They're low-level chumps. You might run into them, but you're just going to... If you're, like, above level 1 in the game, you're kind of probably just going to stomp them. Well, unless they're in big numbers.
Also, the Tiger Claws are in both, and, like, neither time are Tiger Claws going to be a threat. Like, they're so, like, they do have a stranglehold over, like, the Asian areas of Night City, but only because of numbers, not because of, like...
Yeah, it's purely a saturation thing, not actual power. They have quantity, definitely not quality.
Yeah, Edge Runners was a very good anime. Yeah. It took us a while to get to it, but...
Also, you know what I realized that they never explain, but they show so well that they do explain it? Ripper Docs.
Yeah, Ripper Docs.
At no point did they explain, oh, this is what a Ripper Doc is, which, again, so many other things would. It's just like, yeah, take me to the Ripper Doc. And we just see parts, and we see him do the surgery, but it's never explained that, oh yeah, Ripper Docs are people who do illegal surgery to add these things to you.
Specifically, Ripper Docs aren't necessarily illegal. There are black market Ripper Docs and white market Ripper Docs.
But generally, if you're talking about just a straight-up Ripper Doc, you're generally talking about a black market one.
Could be either one.
At least, like, in the game, at least in the tabletop game. Like, more often than not, you are not paying for actual quality doctors.
Because as a player, or, like, the main character of Edge Runners, or, like, a player in the role-playing game, you are a cyberpunk. You're not just a person living in...
I think there's also another term for Ripper Docs that aren't Ripper Docs as well.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it gets used probably more by, like, Arasaki and whatnot.
I don't know. I've spent some time in 2077 at this point. I know multiple Ripper Docs who are, like, legit Ripper...
Yeah, I think it's an accepted term, but I think there's also, like, a more company correct term, because I'm not going to say politically correct. There's no politics.
There's also the term mod jockey.
Yeah.
But...
Also, I do like the fact they include the neo-futuristic language that Cyberpunk uses, by which I mean an evolution of current language, infusing slang from different cultures, different popular cultures.
Yeah.
And then creating its own words that are derivative and or portmanteaus of current words or phrases.
Yes.
And the anime uses them in a way that doesn't feel off.
Yeah.
Like, that's another thing that, like, The Expanse does as well.
God, I love The Expanse. I think the Chinese Creole shit.
I think The Expanses can be a bit harder to understand at points.
Maybe, but, like...
But I think that's also
the tone of it. The tone of it's always there, though. Like,
but I also think that's kind of unfair to say, given the fact that The Expanse has, like, 4 seasons?
Yeah.
And this was 10 episodes. Like, I've watched some Cyberpunk 2077 play, and I've read the Cyberpunk books. There are some terms that you just will not know off the top of your head and will not make sense to you as far as slang goes.
Also,
until it's used.
Specifically, The Expanse's hard science and the languages are even built, like, based on how, like, the Creole Chinese hybrid language.
How we adapt languages.
Yeah. Like, all of that is hard science, including the linguistics.
Yeah, it's hard linguistics. It's
Cyberpunk
perfect.
Is like the furthest from hard science that you can get.
Yeah, it's like, well, because The Expanse is looking at the natural evolution of language that we've seen when two cultures come together, and it pays some attention to slang, but not too much, because we have some linguistic studies on slang, but not nearly as much as we do over the natural growth and evolution of wide spoken language, whereas Cyberpunk is really just like looking at, well, how does slang come about?
Yeah.
And then it's also looking at another thing that kind of just makes slang what it is, which is like, well, what's a fun term for this? And would people use that term? Like, Ripper Doc definitely would have doesn't really come across from anything else. Yeah, they rip things out of your body and they're a doctor, but like, that's not something we would normally portmanteau together, I think. But it is kind of a fun phrase to say.
Yeah.
So people are gonna fucking use it. That's kind of how slang works. Things like, okay, were popular people using it, or is it a fun/funny phrase to use? Speaking
of language, though, I'm gonna go back to Doctor Who real fast.
Yeah.
Because one of the most recent episodes of Doctor Who I watched, which is the Doctor Who episode that introduces the fugitive doctor, I had the episode running in the living room. Yeah. I got up to go like grab something from my bedroom, and I heard a language that I instantly recognized.
Yeah.
Even though they haven't been in Doctor Who in ages. The last time they were in Doctor Who was when, what's her name? Companion before Amy and Rory, the doctor. Well, doctor in training.
I know who you're talking about. Martha. Her name was Martha.
Yeah. And it's the Jadoon.
Oh.
But like, as soon as I heard a Jadoon speak, I instantly knew it was Jadoon.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't heard Jadoonese or whatever it's called, whatever the language is.
Yeah.
In like 2 or 3 years in real life. But as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh.
That's Jadoon.
We're dealing with Jadoon. I 100% know Jadoon is probably not a functional language.
Yeah, but it has a functional sound and shape to it that it gets the point across.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, we're dealing with Jadoon. Beautiful.
No, like, I love when shows or even books go through the effort of actually, like, building a language. Even if it's not done with a great eye at linguistics. But, like, one of my favorite things about Star Trek, and I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, I do enjoy it, but one of my favorite things is the fact that Klingon is just a language, and yes, I am aware a lot of that was fleshed out by fans, but the fact that, one, then the show was just like, yeah, sure, fuck it, we'll embrace all of that.
Yeah.
But the fact that it has a structural language, and it has a consistent, like, mouth shape and glottal sound approach to it, that it all feels like it fits the same, is nice. Like, the only issue I would have there is, like, as we continue with Star Trek, we don't see, like, any that I can think of, like, changes or cultural, like, diffusion across. Like, we don't see any softening of some words and stuff, which we would probably see as we continue on and on and on, because we see that in our language here that we speak on Earth, obviously, where we adapt some sounds or some certain language, whether it's about certain technologies, certain businesses, or certain practices, to take on more of a shape in sound and pronunciation from other cultures.
I think culturally that makes sense with Klingon culture, though. Like,
yeah, no, because Klingon culture is super rigid. Like, I would understand them, like, being very pushed against it and, like, refusing it actively.
Yeah.
So, like, I understand that. But that doesn't mean that the same wouldn't be true in reverse to...
Yeah, okay, that's true.
The standard basic language that would be English, but I'm not sure if they call it English anymore in Star Trek.
It's Universal Basic.
I don't believe so.
Oh, sorry, Galactic Basic. My bad.
Yeah, no.
It's Galactic Basic.
No, that's Star Wars, bud. Wrong language.
They're the same show.
I mean, you're not going to hear me disagree.
Look, I know so little about Star Trek that it's ridiculous.
My Star Trek knowledge is very, very spotty.
Most of my Star Trek knowledge comes from, like, the 2 or 3 minutes when Star Trek would overrun its time slot and enter into Attack of the Show, and I'd be sitting there being like, come on,
most of mine comes from TNG.
Like,
and some, like, older TOS.
I've probably watched 2 or 3 episodes worth of Star Trek, but it's all been the last 3 minutes of episodes.
You know, I've watched quite a bit of TNG, but it's been a while. And then I would watch TOS.
I've not even seen the new Star Trek movies.
I wasn't a huge fan of them, so I didn't watch them.
Like, even though they have actors and stuff that I like in them, same. I've not even touched them. I have... My amount of Star Trek knowledge is zip.
I'm aware.
Which is why it's fucking hilarious that I hate Star Wars.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Because that conversation about Cyberpunk got really far to a different topic that I was not aware we were going to be talking about.
You mean languages?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't hate Star Wars. I just...
Yeah, Star Wars is dumb,
hate Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't hate Star Wars, but it's dumb and I don't like it.
In order to appreciate and enjoy Star Wars, you kind of have to hate Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's a hill I will die on.
I would agree with you, though.
Also, the Trade Federation did nothing wrong.
The Trade Federation was in the right. They'd agreed to those terms.
You can't just change the terms.
There's a reason why you shouldn't elect a preteen to be the fucking leader of your planet.
She's not even
Naboo.
She's not even the youngest queen they've had.
I am aware. That's why I said preteen. Because Amidala's not a preteen when she's voted in.
They've literally elected children to office.
I'm aware. Yeah, get fucked, Naboo. You probably shouldn't let your entire fucking planet be led by children.
It's such a weird political system. I don't know how... Like,
honestly, it's a political system rife with the opportunity for corruption, because you're taking a child, elevating them to a planetary position of power, and then surrounding them with adults that probably have plans of their own, adults that they don't seem to be the ones naturally appointing. And, like, it's very problematic when we pull back to look at it.
Well, like, even, like, how does a planet that is that advanced maintain that political structure through its history without, like, making that a ceremonial role?
It has to be almost ceremonial, but we know it's not, because Amidala has actual power over it seems.
Yeah.
But, like,
it would have made, like, I would totally buy an elected 12-year-old queen or 14-year-old queen.
Being ceremonial. Being,
like, a ceremonial position, and, like, she does all the, like, parades and, like...
Yeah, it's like, hey, look, this represents the innocence of our planet, or, like, the hope we look forward to carrying on throughout. But,
like, the actual government is ran by all of this. She just does the...
Yeah.
Like, but no, she's legitimately the leader of an entire planet.
Yeah.
God. I'm sorry I went off on that Star Wars tangent.
No, you're fine, man.
Like, I know, like, it's weird that that's the conclusion I reached when we went to review episode 1 and 2. But, like, it's just stuck in my brain ever since.
Well,
because,
it's not wrong, but also neither of us had seen episode 1 or 2 in years.
I hadn't seen episode 2 in over a decade.
Yeah, I don't think I'd seen it in like a decade.
I'd seen episode 2 twice, ever.
Not 2. I'd seen 2 more recently, because 2 is my favorite of the prequels. But I hadn't seen episode 1 in like a decade. Yeah. I'd seen the Darth Maul and...
the Duel of Fates, because, like, Duel of Fates is honestly one of the best moments in all of Star Wars.
Like, I would watch it strictly because finding good audio for the Duel of Fates was pretty hard for a while. So I would just watch the fight so I could listen to the music. I
don't think I had ever consciously realized why Duel of Fates is called Duel of Fates.
Yeah.
But Duel of Fates is called Duel of Fates specifically because the outcome determines which side of the Force Anakin walks down. And, like, I never really thought of it as more than, like, a cool title for the scene, and, like, a cool, like that's why it's called that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little obvious, but, like, you know the band Ghost? Well, we're talking about obvious things.
Yeah. So, I'm aware of Ghost BC.
Yeah, so their first album is called Opus Eponymous.
Yeah.
And obviously opus is, like, Latin for great work.
Yeah.
We all know, well, opus is Latin for work.
Yeah.
We mostly know that in, like, the usage of magnum opus, meaning great work.
Yeah, defining work, great work.
Yeah, and we all know eponymous is, like, in reference to oneself.
Yeah.
Like, the eponymous character of the film. This is just another way of saying the title character.
Yep.
So, Opus Eponymous, Ghost's first album, is literally translated to the work in reference to itself.
Yeah, it's the self-titled.
It clicked with me about a month ago, and I was almost literally punching myself in the side of the head, because I was like, I'm so stupid. How did I not realize that? I know how I didn't realize that.
You don't know fucking Latin off the top of your head?
Well, it's not only that, but, like, by the time I was a Ghost fan, Meloria had come out.
Yeah.
And when talking about Ghost, almost nobody in the fandom community at the time, and I think still even now, uses the full album name when they're talking about it. They just call it Opus.
Yeah.
And, like, I never stopped to be like, oh yeah, Opus Eponymous.
Yeah, no. But I do love the fact that it's just self-titled. That's effectively all it is. It's just self-titled in Latin.
Mm-hmm. It's hilarious. It's honestly hilarious.
Yeah.
I think I'm out of topics, honestly, and I'm out of this batanga, so...
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's a fairly good episode. You got some language, you got some Doctor Who, you got some Cyberpunk, but that feels like it came second to the language conversation, which was weird. That wasn't my topic, but apparently that's what I wanted to talk about today.
I mean...
Then we got a mention of Ghost that also just went back to language.
Yeah, like, I just wanted to talk about their Latin.
Yeah, so enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed this conversation about linguistics from no one that actually knows about linguistics.
To be fair, I did spend 2 years at a university studying English.
Yeah, but not linguistics as an overall.
And part of that was studying, like, linguistics of English.
Yeah, English linguistics. But I mean, we were talking about cultural linguistics and linguistic change and evolution.
Yeah.
Which is not something you really know within English linguistics.
No, it's just, like, a topic of interest.
Yeah, like, I think it's neat. But yeah, that's all we have to really say about that. So if you want to use your linguistic skills to message us, email us, complain to us, tell us what we got wrong about linguistics, you can do so by finding us on Twitter at Copilots Review.
we might end up on Threads, and if we do, it will be at Copilot's Review.
Yeah.
We're not there yet because currently Threads requires an Instagram account, and Copilot's Review does not have an Instagram account. And then if we did create an Instagram account for Copilot's Review, the only way to close the Threads account is to also delete the Instagram, and like that seems...
Also, let's face it, Facebook's not really much better.
Yeah, and also like...
I mean, Meta,
If
sorry.
you get banned on Instagram, it bans your Threads. If you get banned
Yeah.
on Threads, it bans your Insta. And like...
And like we would be on Blue Sky, but it's invite only, and no one would invite us.
We're not famous enough.
Yeah.
Or important enough. Or tweet out regularly enough.
Yeah.
But Copilot's Review on Threads when we get there.
Maybe.
And at Twitter. And on Hive. And on Mastodon if we ever set that up.
I don't know if it's ats on Mastodon.
I think it'd be copilotsreview.social is how that works.
I don't fucking know, man. The only good thing I know about Threads so far is that, like, supposedly they're going to include future integration of things like being able to interact with Mastodon through it.
The thing I know most about Threads...
Which, makes sense because that's the thing that the internet was looking at doing before Twitter really got around. It's like, hey, we have all these different social sites, and the only thing separating it is the dot link, so we could just make them all integrate. Really just like the same way people use websites or emails to interact with other emails.
So, like, the only thing I know about... the thing I know most about Threads right now, and this is derailing our sign-off, but in Threads there's a menu, there's a setting.
Okay.
And it has an option if you want Threads to show you potentially racist content.
Oh.
Or if you want them to, like, slightly moderate that for you. Or if
I appreciate the toggle option.
Or if you would just want them to turn that off. Yeah, the toggle option is nice, but, like, the question is why can't they just ban it if they have a...
Right, like if they're like...
If they already have...
This is racist.
Yeah, if they already have a thing that's like, hey, this is racist... Why don't...
Free speech, Josh. Free speech.
Free speech absolutism is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, there is
especially
some
when you're applying it to private entities, such as companies.
There is some speech that should be censored, and saying, I hate X person here, or I hate X type of people here, should probably be censored unless it's I hate cops, or I hate billionaires.
Or I hate neo-Nazis. Or I hate Nazis.
Those sentences...
Or I hate racists.
Should not be censored. But when you say, I hate specific race of person, I hate specific religion, I hate specific religious group of people, not religion. You can hate a religion all you want.
Yeah.
Or
I hate specific people of this identifying group.
Yeah. Those things should just be like...
Yeah. But you can also email us at copilotsreview@gmail.com.
And you can find links to all of that at copilotsreview.simplecast.com, which also has links to our Discord and YouTube, but not our Hive.
Yeah.
But anyways, thanks for listening. Catch us on our next flight. It's going to be a really special flight.
It's going to be fantastic.
I can't wait.